it seemed like they didn't know that I wanted this baby, that this baby was very loved. And we had a nursery set up and we were excited about him. And my husband was reading dad books and picking out strollers. And like, I did not want to be there at all. I did not want to be doing this.
Our TFMR stories.
Yeah, so today we have a mom with us who's going to share her story of termination for medical reasons. So why don't you tell us your name, where you're from, how you found out about that pregnancy, how you found out you were pregnant, and maybe a favorite memory from that pregnancy.
Sure. I'm Allie. I live in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm originally from South Carolina, but moved up here for travel nursing. I'm a nurse and ended up meeting my husband. Now I'm here forever. My husband and I had only been married a couple of months, and then we were celebrating my 30th birthday. We went out the night before and I had a couple of drinks. I was having fun and went out with some of my friends. And the next day I went to a friend's baby shower and there were like 70 people there. Probably like 20 of them were pregnant. And I was just feeling like such garbage. Like I was just thinking that I had a terrible hangover from the night before. And my other friend who I went with and we were joking, like, can't drink the water here. Like everybody's pregnant. Like there's so many people who are pregnant here. And anyway, I was still hungover the next day as well, or so I thought. And so I said, I should just take a pregnancy test. Like, why not? You know, I think some people get that gut feeling like maybe I should just like take a test. Like this is weird. And turns out I was pregnant, which I was terrified because I had been to my OB like the month before, and we talked about trying like over the summer, and this was in December. So I was pretty scared as it was unexpected, but I was also super grateful because I had been told with my PCOS that it was probably going to be a big struggle. So I was really grateful that we didn't struggle in that. And I told my husband and he was just great. And once I told him, it was amazing. We were so excited and just like on cloud nine and so ready, like, you know, got ourselves ready for this baby and just we're really, really happy. And in regards to like my favorite part or my favorite memory, I don't know. I honestly think it was just like how my husband reacted. Like he immediately went into like getting all these baby books and he was researching the best stroller and little things like that. It was really sweet. Like I didn't expect that from him. And he just went into this like super dad mood. And it was really, really cute to see how he reacted because he's a very like introverted guy. And he was just really excited about this like little baby we were bringing into the world. So that was probably like my favorite little memory of, you know, carrying Adam.
Oh, that's really sweet that he was all into it and doing the research.
Yeah, it was really nice because I was terrified. I cried because I was terrified. And he just, when I told him, he was just like, this is good. This is so exciting. This is what we want. So he just took all those nerves away and it was just good from there. From there on out, I was really excited about it all.
And then something went wrong.
Yeah, so everything was perfect. We had just, you know, the normal ultrasounds. We got the confirmation that we were pregnant. And then at 12 weeks, we did our nuchal measurement ultrasound and everything looked great. It didn't look like there were any chromosome abnormalities from what they could tell. And everything was good. We did not want to know the gender of our baby. We were really wanting to keep that a surprise. I was very adamant on that. My husband kind of wanted to know, but I was just like, no, I don't want to know. I want to know when I give birth, that's when I want to know. And so at our 20-week ultrasound, I ended up having it at 21 weeks. That way my husband could go with us. He hadn't been to any of the other ultrasounds or anything. And so at 21 weeks, we did our ultrasound. We thought it was perfect. Baby was sucking his thumb. We didn't know it was a him at the time, but the baby was sucking his thumb. He was moving. It was just unreal to like see what was happening inside you. And this was my first pregnancy. So unreal to see what was happening inside you, like that a baby was sucking his thumb. It was unbelievable and so cool and exciting. And I think it was really like it was the happiest moment of our lives, like that we were just there together watching this. And then the ultrasound tech stepped out of the room and said that she's going to be back, that there's the doctor's going to come in and talk to us. My friend, who was due just a few weeks ahead of me, had already done her anatomy scan. And she said that's totally normal because they just come talk to everybody after the scan, and just tell you things look great and you can go. So during that time, my husband and I were just like researching. I was craving a grilled cheese. We were researching where we could go to get a grilled cheese. And we just had no idea like what was coming to us, like at all. We were completely blindsided when the doctor came in and just said that they were going to get a couple more pictures of the baby's heart. And I, as a nurse, knew like, okay, you don't look at things again unless there's something wrong, like there's something going on. And so, the doctor himself was like doing the ultrasound, and he just like sighed. He just like had this sound that came out of him. And I just knew like it's pretty unbelievable to go from like the best moment of your life to just like the worst in, seconds, really. It was crazy. So we found out that our son, still didn't know it was a boy, but our son had issues with his heart. He had a single artery umbilical cord, and he had dilated kidneys. And they said like it looked to be an AV canal defect in his heart, but they weren't sure. We would have to see a cardiologist to confirm diagnosis and do an amniocentesis, because frequently, a lot of the times, these abnormalities together are apparent in babies with T21 and so Down syndrome. And so they said that if our baby had Down syndrome, he would absolutely not survive any of the heart surgeries that he would need to survive. And so we absolutely wanted to continue and do every bit of the testing, every single thing. We're both medical professionals and wanted to gather as much information as possible to know, like what we're going to do to raise this baby. Like, what does this mean for us to raise a baby with these types of issues? Because it wasn't even like termination wasn't even really like on my forefront right now. It was just, we were going to have a baby who was going to need a bunch of heart surgeries. And then as we started finding out more information, it became apparent like these are big surgeries that babies don't survive. Like this isn't a little heart surgery and then the baby's fine for the rest of his life. There was going to need to be 3 surgeries and a heart transplant before the age of 10. And if he even made it to that point. And so we did the amniocentesis. We found out that everything was normal chromosome wise, which was good. It like gave us, there was a week where we just had like got hope where we can do this. Like I'm a nurse and we can do this, and we've got retired parents and we can handle having a kid who's going to be in the hospital all the time. And then like, can we handle having a kid who's going to need this many surgeries? Will our marriage survive? Will we have any more children? This is our first baby. Like, will we even be able to make another baby if we're dealing with a child who needs this much attention and who's in the hospital all the time? And we just really went back and forth because the cardiologist seemed so certain like they could fix it. But all of the research we were reading in all of the medical journals that my husband has access to were saying that the outcome wasn't good, that a lot of babies didn't survive these surgeries. And if they did, they were severely like handicapped and like mentally not able to be there and function at like their level, and they wouldn't be able to run and play. And I didn't know really like what the life of our son would be. And I think like with this, like I am very lucky because at the end of the week, we finally met with the MFM doctor, and they told us something that like we had not heard before, which was that our son was in like less than 1% of his body weight. And so he was never going to be big enough, strong enough outside of my body to even get a heart surgery that he would have needed. So that we needed to hear to be able to make the decision to terminate. It was unreal to go from like a little bit of hope to no hope to like, yes, we're absolutely going to terminate. And then like, no, we can't terminate. This is our son. Like we can do this. Like we can, if anybody can raise this baby, like we can do it. So I think hearing he was going to die either way, was a huge relief for us. We walked out of that appointment both like smiling because we just felt this incredible relief that we knew that terminating was the kindest thing for our son. And that I wasn't going to wait and bring him into this world and have him, die and suffer in my arms. Like I didn't want to do that. So to me, terminating was the best option and the kindest option and the most humane option for my situation.
I'm so sorry about all of that. It's just, how long was that whole time period? Like a week, 2 weeks? There was an amnio, there's the MFM is the maternal fetal medicine, and then the cardiologist, you went to all these specialists. And
we did everything super fast. So we had that ultrasound the morning of. They immediately sent us to the children's hospital to do a fetal echo with the cardiologist. And then we came back to this other hospital, and then we did the amnio. So we did those things that day, and it was on a Friday. And then we had the weekend where we were just waiting for results, and like we just sat and kind of absorbed all this information. And my husband did research. Like he does a lot of research for his job, and he was just researching like nonstop, trying to find out what all of this means. And so then on Monday, we had another appointment. We ended up having multiple fetal echocardiograms to get diagnosed. And every one, they found more heart abnormalities. There was more cardiac abnormalities, more veins in the wrong place, more, just a lot of issues happening inside of his heart. So it was like getting more and more complicated. But the cardiologist, I think they want it, like they like to try to do things, they want to, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but I think they want to try to fix things because that's what they do. Like they want to do everything they can to help and to get this baby healed and survive, but at what cost? And that's not what I didn't feel good about. And I'm a nurse, and I see things a lot that I don't think medically, to save a life, like what does that really mean? And what does a life mean? And what does the quality of life really mean? And I've seen that a lot in my career, and I've thought about it a lot for myself and what I want to have done. And so it was just a different conversation to think about, like what we would want to have done to our child. But from our ultrasound until the first day of our abortion process was 10 days. We had 10 days. Because in the state of Wisconsin, I was not able to terminate at all because the rules are 21 weeks. So you can't have an abortion after 21 weeks, and terminating a pregnancy, regardless of if it's for medical reasons, regardless of if my baby will not survive, it is an abortion. And that was not allowed in the state of Wisconsin after 21 weeks. So I had to travel to Illinois, which is, a 2.5-hour drive. That wasn't the problem. It was just the fact that I had to leave my midwife, who I trusted, my doctors, who I trusted, the hospital that I trusted, my friends, my support system, my dogs.
Yes. Your bed.
Yes, my bed, everything that I had to go. And I feel like it kind of makes you feel a little shameful, like having to go run and hide to go have this procedure and hide in a hotel room and just get takeout food and just sit in a hotel room and, go through this procedure. And I went to, and the only clinic that I knew of, the clinic that was recommended to me is kind of a sketchy clinic. And I did not get great care, and I didn't feel secure, and I did not feel safe. And it didn't feel right. I felt dirty and grungy, and I felt like it was wrong. But I didn't know any other options. I had never found I didn't know about other options because I didn't know anyone who's ever gone through this. I've never heard of anybody terminating a pregnancy that they wanted. Anybody who I have known who's had an abortion has had it much earlier in their pregnancy, and they can just, go to the clinic, and it's a one pill kind of thing. This is a 3-day procedure, and I didn't know any other options. I just knew that if I didn't do it quickly, because in Illinois, you only have until 23 weeks. If I didn't do it by 22 weeks and 6 days, technically, and it was a 3-day thing. So it's really 22 weeks and 3 days, before you have to start it, that I would have to fly out to Colorado to do it. And that just seemed like a lot more money and a lot of, later. And I just wanted to get it kind of over with once we made the decision of what we were going to do. And I think once I had started at that clinic, I just had to finish. So it was really, really traumatizing as a healthcare worker going to that clinic and being treated in a way that just wasn't compassionate. And it seemed like it seemed like they didn't know that I wanted this baby, that this baby was very loved, and we had a nursery set up, and we were excited about him. And my husband was reading dad books and picking out strollers, and I did not want to be there at all. I did not want to be doing this. So it was very, very traumatizing.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you were treated like that. Do you want to share more about sort of what went wrong, like how they mistreated you?
Sure. So I said it was a 3-day process. On the first day, I go in, and my husband has to wait in the waiting room, and there's a big security guard blocking anybody from being able to go back into the procedure rooms. And they have to confirm your pregnancy. So they wanted me to do an ultrasound and see how far along I was. And I went back there, and I asked if my husband could come. They said absolutely not. So nobody's allowed to come back. And during the ultrasound, there was a nurse practitioner who performed it. And I asked, because of course, anytime I got an ultrasound, I wanted pictures of my baby, because I want anything to keep his memory. And I said, can I have a picture of the baby? Or I didn't get to get very good pictures at our anatomy scan, because I didn't think we were going to need them. I thought I was going to be able to see my baby one day. And now I just was grasping for anything of him that I could have, or that I could keep. That way I could just feel like I have a piece of him. And she said, nope. And she did the ultrasound, took her gloves off, walked out of the room, left me on the table with ultrasound gel all over my belly. Just, I don't know if other moms have felt this way, but I felt like extremely vulnerable and like exposed and just in this room by myself. The only thing in the room were like these rough paper towels to wipe the ultrasound gel off. I tried talking about how he was diagnosed with these cardiac abnormalities, and she was just like, okay, like didn't show any compassion or care that this was a situation that I wanted the baby, you know, that I didn't want to be here. And I was losing somebody who I loved, like somebody who I love was dying, and it just did not come across that way at all. And then I went back into the waiting room with my husband for a little bit. And after a little bit of time, I got called back again. And this time they were going to place the dilators. And I got pulled into this room where they told me to take my clothes off, take everything off, and then go into this waiting room where there were other women in gowns, completely naked underneath, and no footwear except for like paper booties on in this room. There was no clock. We were just sitting there, and it just was horrible. Like I wish I would have been out in the front waiting with my husband. I didn't want to be waiting with a bunch of other women who were also going through something traumatizing. Nobody wants to get an abortion, but we were all sitting there waiting for our abortions, which just seems wrong and gross. And it didn't sit right that we were all sitting there together instead of with our partners or our loved ones feeling supported. We were alone and isolated and shoved in front of each other to see that they could, like, people who weren't far enough along could very well see my very pregnant belly. Like I was I was almost 23 weeks pregnant, and it was obvious, and very self-conscious that I didn't want them to think like, I want this baby. I'm not here because I don't want this baby. Like, I'm not here because I was dumb and now all of a sudden I don't want this baby. It's like, you know, I felt like I had to like justify myself, and I was embarrassed and felt a lot of shame sitting there with my pregnant belly in front of other women who were also there. It just was a very weird feeling. And then I got called back to have the dilators placed, and this is just like the worst care I think I could have ever received. I went into this room, this metal table, and in my blog, it says that it was like a vet's office, and it was like a vet procedure room. It was not like anything I have seen working at hospitals. It was cold and super impersonal, and I got placed on this metal table. My legs were put up in stirrups. A bright light was shined on me, and I was sobbing and apologizing to my son out loud while these dilators were being placed. And it was painful. It's painful because they go into your cervix, and I have never had a baby before. My cervix had never been moved at all. And I lifted my hips because it hurt. And it just was like a quick, like, you know, and I got yelled at. She says, if you can't handle this, I can come back in a little bit and give you a minute. And it just, like, if I can't handle what's happening, how am I supposed to handle what's happening? How do you say that to somebody? And while I'm extremely vulnerable, my legs are spread, I am naked, and you are putting things inside of my cervix. And if I can't, to terminate my baby who I love, if I can't handle that, then I can have a minute. It was disgusting. The care, I just couldn't believe that as a nurse, that that is how I was being treated.
Was that the same nurse as the ultrasound?
It was the same nurse practitioner. Yes. And I just was in shock about it. Like, I would never treat a patient that way. I would never act that way to anybody, whether or not they wanted this or not, like whether or not this was their choice. Like, I would be compassionate. This to me was like what everyone who's anti-choice, like, this is what they think it is. You know what I mean? Like, and what upset me so much is because it gave them this like idea to just that it's horrible and it's traumatizing, and it was horrible and traumatizing, but it could be so much better. Like,
yeah, doesn't have to be like that.
Right. Like, I could have been treated with care, and Alex, my husband, could have been holding my hand and could have been there supporting me, and I could have felt compassion, and just they could have just asked me, like, how are you feeling about this? What's going on? Like, done a little bit to just show compassion, which is what you do when you're a healthcare worker. Like, you see people at their most vulnerable and on the worst days of their lives. Like, you're supposed to be compassionate. We get into this field because we want to help people. And that was not helping. That was not helping me in any way. So there were a couple other things where they would give me medications. They wouldn't tell me what the medications were, which is super bad. I never give out medications without saying, here's Tylenol. This is for pain. Here's, whatever. But they did that to me. Then there was medications that I was unable to take because I was on a blood thinner, and they were like, oh, okay. And then the antibiotic that they gave me, it's very important not to drink on it. And they didn't say anything about that, but it's very, very important not to drink any alcohol on that. And I imagine that people who are going through this might want a glass of wine at the end of their day, or something if they're feeling stressed out. And, I think that's an important thing to tell people. So there was a lot of, issues that I had with that facility, but also I have a lot of other friends who have terminated, and they've had beautiful experiences. They were offered labor and delivery. I was not offered that. I was not able to have that. And they were able to hold their child and see their child and take pictures and have that experience, even though it's horrible to have to go through. They have, an option to have a better situation or be in a hospital and just receive proper medical care, like with their doctors. And they were able to be put under anesthesia during the dilator insertion process. They weren't having to be awake during that. There was a lot of other ways that it could have been. And I think that's why I am very open about it, is because it's going to happen. People are going to get these horrible diagnoses with their pregnancies, and we can do better. Like, we can do better as healthcare workers. We can do better for these women and these families who are going to go through this, because it's going to happen. Like, this isn't going to stop. Babies aren't just happen. So I just really am passionate about having better care provided to these women who are in these horrible situations.
Yeah, you did not receive the proper bereaved mother care that you could have got in hospitals, because more and more hospitals have those kinds of programs.
Absolutely. And I think I have a friend who had a miscarriage. She had a miscarriage when she was 7 weeks pregnant. She went to the hospital and she ended up having a DNC, a similar procedure that I had. She was given packets of information, packets of support, treated super compassionately. And I was dilated, had the procedure, given a set of footprints, and literally a kick out the door. Like, there was nothing. I walked out of the clinic not pregnant, and just like, what now? Like, what do I do now? And I'm very thankful that I have a husband who loves to research things and find things. And he found support groups that were for moms who terminated for medical reasons. And he
Mm-hmm.
found that for me because I didn't know. None of my friends have ever even really had any sort of pregnancy losses. No one, my mom had 4 very healthy pregnancies and never had a pregnancy loss. Like I was surrounded by people who didn't get it to me. And even if you did have a miscarriage, I felt like it was a little different. And I went through a lot of trauma with the procedure itself that a lot of people weren't able to relate to.
Yeah, where were our packets?
Yeah, right. So where
was the I'm sorry for your loss. It's not that hard.
It's really not.
What we needed, it's not it you don't have to even go out of your way to give that kind of care.
Right.
Instead of saying, don't move your hips that way, you can say, I'm really sorry for your loss. It's like the
sorry.
same amount of mouth movement and energy expended.
Right. And probably even less than that. Like, hey, I'm really sorry. And then that would have calmed me down. And like, I could have had a minute, and then you would have been done with your job a lot faster. You know, you wouldn't have had to do that if you'd just been a little bit more compassionate and like, I'm really sorry. I know this is super uncomfortable and I'm really sorry that you're having to go through this. That's all it would have taken, you know, like for me to be like, thank you. Okay. I can relax. Like I'm doing the right thing, or just, you know, any sort of support in general. It would have been so easy. And I did go back to, where I was diagnosed and said, hey, like there are support groups out there. There's this, and like, please use my name. And like, you can tell, like, you don't worry about HIPAA. If any moms are thinking about this or want, like, use my name and have them contact me if they want to talk to somebody who's gone through this. Like, I just wanted to be the person I wish I had to other people. And they were like, well, we can't do any of that. I'm like, so you're just sending these women on their own and just, you know, go figure it out. But yet you hand the people who've had miscarriages these packets of support. I don't get it. I don't understand that.
Yeah, it's like, even though we're telling them this is a wanted baby and I'm a grieving mom, it's like they're not hearing it. Right. So let's say it again. We're grieving mothers. We're grieving parents. Treat us like that, please.
Right. And even like, I feel like kind of even regardless if somebody was that uncomfortable in that procedure, regardless.
Yes.
Treat them with compassion. Like even if they didn't want the baby, and that's why they couldn't, you know, for any reason, like be compassionate because they still don't want to be there. Yeah. No one's like, oh, I'm going to go have fun on this Saturday and go have an abortion. No one ever thinks that. Like they don't want to be there. And it was painful and it was uncomfortable and a medical procedure that was scary. So be supportive. Regardless of anybody's situation, just be good people.
Yeah.
Be kind.
Anything else you want to add about the procedure?
Well, I said it was a 3-day. I think it's important. It's a 3-day procedure. So the first day they insert 5 dilators, which are like little matchsticks. They're made of seaweed. They're matchsticks. They go into your cervix and they end up expanding to the size of like a drinking straw, which is what I was told. And so the first day I had 5 inserted and had a little bit of cramping. And then day 2, I went and had 15 placed, which was excruciating and also sent me into having contractions that night in my hotel room that were very regular and scary. And I was in the hotel with my husband counting out contractions and terrified of what to do if I was in labor, because there were many hospitals in the area that will not accept you if you are in the middle of having a late-term abortion. they will just refuse you. So we were trying to figure out which hospitals were safe for me to go to, which was terrifying. I ended up calling my midwife because I was so upset, and I had truly the best midwife ever. And she was just amazing. So she told me to call her at any time. And she kind of just said, hey, let's just lay down, take a Xanax, see if they go away. And eventually they did at like 3:00 that morning. And then the next day I went in for the actual procedure, and they gave me propofol, and within 15 minutes or so I was finished with the procedure. But I was pulled into the back away from my husband, in a room full of a bunch of other women again, in hospital gowns, for hours, with my husband not knowing what was going on, which was terrifying for him, having to sit in the break or in the waiting room and listen to people playing on their phones or doing whatever and just talking and laughing with each other in there. And he is sitting there wondering what's happening with his wife and his baby, and he's just alone in the waiting room for hours without hearing an update or anything. And I remember the first thing when I woke up out of anesthesia was, can you please go tell my husband? Can you please go tell my husband I'm okay? Please go tell him. I know he's so worried. And, I don't think anyone went and told him anything until I was in the little area for the recovery room. And I essentially begged the nurse who was taking care of me, please go tell him I'm okay. Because I don't have my phone. I don't have anything on me. I couldn't have anything on me. And it had been at least 3 hours that he was just waiting. And it was supposed to be, a 20-minute procedure. So it just, it's terrifying. So she went out and said, told him that I was in recovery. And then they asked me if I wanted footprints when I was coming out of anesthesia. And I thought it was a dream. It was just so they should have asked that before. They should ask you that, not like when you're coming out of anesthesia, because so many people might not be fully awake and able to even answer. I thought it was a dream. I did not think it was even real life that they asked me that. That should be a conversation before, if you want footprints. And I did. And so I went from recovery and into to get my clothes, and they handed me the set of footprints and said, bye. And that was it. And so there was no conversation about what to do medically. If anything starts happening, just talk to your OB and, go with that. So it, not really even any signs to look out for and what to do and what happens if you're bleeding too much or anything like that, which, I had never had a baby. I had never had this was my first pregnancy. I didn't know anything. So luckily I was a medical care professional, and they, I know a little bit of some things, but there's a lot of women who don't, and they trust people. They trust what you say. They trust what you do to them. They trust you because you're the professional. They trust the medication you're giving to them. They trust the procedures and the doctors. And in this situation, it could be dangerous to have that full trust in somebody. And it's scary. It was really scary. And I had to go to this clinic because I was not allowed to be in my state, not allowed to be in my comfort, because the law was at 21 weeks that I had to do that. And my husband and I got devastating news. We had 10 days to make a decision, 10 days to make a decision on what a life or death decision on our child. That just is it's crazy. I should have been able to have as much time as I wanted to think about it. I should have been able to do any more research. I should have been able to be offered labor and delivery. Like I should have been offered the option to hold my son, to see his face. That's, I think, one of the most difficult things for me after all of this was that I don't know what his face looks like. I will never know what his face looks like. I just wanted to see his lips and his cheeks and like, you know, just like his hands and all of that. Like that's so hard to not have that option. So I would have loved to have had the option to do that. So, and then like I wasn't offered any ashes. Like I would have loved to have buried my son and to have had, it seemed like he meant something to somebody else other than me, you know, like to be treated like a human, like a baby. If he was a stillborn, you know, it would have been, I would have had so much support and I would have been able to take pictures. Like they send photographers to the hospital to do that. And you get the ashes and you get to a death certificate and you get to bury your baby. Like I had nothing. I had a tiny little on a business card set of footprints. And that's all that I had of him. And that's, I think, was the hardest thing about going through all of this. And all of this can be changed. Like all of this can be better. It can be better for so many people.
Yeah, I think the fact that you were not able to do the type of procedure to have labor and delivery that you wanted, you know, because some people would actually like to have a DNC, DNE, and they're also not allowed to have that. Then they're forced to have the other procedure, and it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah, I think
when we can't make that decision as a mother.
Right. I think a lot of it comes to not feeling in control over anything and just having those few options, those few choices would help significantly to feel like you are in control and to like having the choice for your child. Like you were given the choice to control their diagnosis. You feel so like, how did my body do this to my baby? You know, you feel so out of control and helpless and spiraling that giving somebody as many options as possible through this would make them feel like they have some sort of, you know, choice in this and some sort of control in their situation and what works best for them, you know, because like you said, like a lot of people don't want labor and delivery, and that would be really hard to have to labor a baby, you know, that they weren't going to bring home. Like that would be really hard for a lot of people. And then like for me, it's really hard that I wasn't even given that choice. If I was given that choice, would I have chosen it? I don't know even, you know, I don't even know if I would have chosen that choice, but I didn't have the choice. And so I fixated on not having that choice and not being able to see him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, because like you said, everything is so out of our control. And then the little things that you're asking for, like, can my husband be there to hold my hand?
Right.
Why is that not allowed?
Yeah. Right. Absolutely.
They can make that happen.
Yes.
And you're a medical professional. You know that can be made that can happen.
Yes. Absolutely. If you're going to send me into a room with a bunch of other women, if it's a HIPAA violation problem, don't put me in a bunch of room with a bunch of women I don't know, because that's not safe and that's not protecting my privacy at all. Like that was not private. That was like herding cattle.
Yeah, the same thing was said to me. Well, it's for their privacy. And I thought we were all in the waiting room together at the beginning. Everybody saw everybody else's faces. There was no privacy once we were all in there together.
Right. Exactly. And then the privacy of like in a room with five, I don't remember how many women, it could have been 7 other women that we were all about to get our abortions. Like what kind of privacy is that? You're not putting me in a private room with like, what about their privacy and my privacy?
Mm-hmm.
Them,
Mm-hmm.
like, whose privacy are we protecting? Like, because it's all out there. It's there now. Like, I'm in a room with a bunch of women naked under a gown right now. So this doesn't seem very private to me.
So then you were sent away from the clinic. And how was the physical healing for you?
Physically, I was kind of surprised. I was like fine. Physically, I had like a little bit of bleeding, but I immediately like walked out and I was like, wow, like I feel like I had kind of gotten to that stage of like starting to get a little uncomfortable because he was like out, but I felt like, whoa, I can bend over and tie my shoe really easily. And, like all the things that like I didn't think about when I was pregnant with Adam. I couldn't tolerate any meat. Like the idea of meat just like turned me off completely. It was gross. I didn't want anything to do with it. On the way home from Chicago, we got a burger. Like it just was like that. Like just like that, he was gone. Like he was gone. It was gone. I'm not pregnant anymore. And that's it. But emotionally healing, it was not easy. And I think it would have been easier if like physically I didn't feel so good, because it was very hard to just feel physically like, did I just like make all of this up? Like, what just happened? Like I was pregnant and then I'm just not. Like I'm just not. I mean, I made milk though. So I guess that was physically something that I had to deal with afterwards that I was not really prepared for. I have had breast reduction surgery, so it was kind of like a 50-50 shot if I would even make milk. And when I did, I was surprised that I felt engorged and I felt painful, and I woke up and like actually had like milk on my shirt, and like, like my shirt was soaked, and that was like kind of traumatizing in the sense of like, here I am, milk coming out of my body and no baby. Like that was hard. It's like my body wanted there to be a baby. Like there should be a baby here. And my brain wanted there to be a baby. Like I wanted a baby to be here. I was dealing with some of the hormones and stuff with it. But ultimately, like physically, I think everything was pretty okay. I felt okay physically, but emotionally I was really in a really hard place. It was very, very difficult for me to kind of come to terms with this because everything happened so fast, so fast that I just got like thrown into this like whirlwind of stuff that I was not expecting from, like I said, that at that ultrasound, it was like the peak, the highest of the high. Like I have never felt so good in my life. And then just like that, it was like bad. Like it just got worse leading up to the trauma of the procedure itself. Was just like, how is this my life? Like we're supposed to be newlyweds. Like what is happening? Like this is not, we shouldn't be dealing with this like so soon after getting married. Like this is crazy. We were so happy. And then now it's just like I'm so grateful for my husband though, because he handled it so well. He was so supportive, and like I'm very grateful that our relationship actually got better and stronger through it. But it's just unbelievable to go from here to there. They're just that fast.
Yeah, so the mental, emotional, spiritual part of grieving, that was where it was really hard. Can you tell us about that?
I knew immediately I wanted to see a therapist who, like, I'm very pro therapy, and the second that I feel off mentally, I'm like, I need to talk to somebody about it. So I knew that I needed to find somebody who was specialized in pregnancy loss, and our infertility clinic here in Madison has a doctor here who who specializes in that. And I saw her so much, and it was so helpful. Because I think we deal with the loss of our baby, and then we deal with the loss, like the fact that we can't really talk about it because people don't really understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't like our baby just died. It was like we chose, to do this. And even I had to grieve a lot of like relationships, because a lot of like my closest friends and family didn't know how to be supportive. And I was like begging for them to like support me and like understand, like, here, just try to get it. Like, try to hear me, try to understand. And like, I just felt like my closest people were not like getting it. And it was really, really hard, because I'm very close to a lot of people, and they were just not. And I'm a very social person, so I rely a lot on like my friends and my pack. And, I just felt like I was not heard and not understood. And like, I should just get over it. Like, you got pregnant. That's amazing. Allie, you have PCOS and you got pregnant and you weren't even trying. Like, it's amazing. You can do it again. And I'm like, it doesn't replace him. Like, I felt him kick. I had moments with Adam. I want him. I don't want just any baby. Like, which of your children don't you want? Like, which of your babies do you want to live without? Because I don't want to live without any of them. Like, I don't want to live without him. And I think because I was struggling so much with not having people who really got it, I ended up relying a lot on my therapist. And there were times where I definitely wanted to be with Adam, like I wanted to die. And it's not that I don't even know that I wanted to die as much as like, I just wanted to be with him, and I wanted to hold him, and I wanted to see him, and I wanted things to be so different. Like, and it was scary for me because I've never really gone to a place like that before. And it's it was very confusing, because I didn't want to leave my husband and my dogs I didn't want to do that, but I wanted to be where Adam was. And so there was just I was fixated on like, well, whenever I die, I'm going to die, and it's going to be great because I'm going to see Adam. Like, it's just like, like, it just was really weird for quite a few months mentally for me. And I think I have found ways to connect with him that I don't feel that way anymore. Like, his middle name is Ray. And so anytime like I feel the sun on me, it's like, I feel like he's hugging me, or, like I've connected very much with him through the sun, and there's a playlist that I have of just like a bunch of music that I listen to that reminds me of him. And now I play it for this baby. And like, I think like there's something like really special in those moments of being outside, like that second that you feel the warmth hit you of the sun, you're like, that moment of like relaxing, it just feels so good. I think everyone has that moment when they feel it, and they're just like, oh, it feels so good. Like, that's when I connect with him. And it's like, thank you. Like, I needed that, like I needed that. I needed to sit in this hot car and feel you for a second. Like, things that I normally would have like complained about, like, oh, it's so hot outside, and now I'm just like, thanks, Adam. Like, this is great. So I think finding ways to connect with him has been very helpful for me. And this was in April. So I got that summer to like, I sat by the pool and I sat outside. I was outside all the time, just trying to absorb it all. And I would listen to his playlist while sunbathing. And I just was like in my little happy mama place, just connecting with my baby. So it was really special.
Thank you for sharing that, the ways that you connect with him.
I think it was important for me to find that connection.
Yeah, because it's going to be different for everyone, and until you find it, until you figure out, the way that you need to grieve. It can feel, the word that you used was confusing.
Yeah.
So confusing. And then like this obsession with death too. That happened to me too. Like I just want to go be with her. Yeah. But I don't want to leave my husband. I don't want to leave my older daughter.
Yeah. It caught me really off guard because I was not it was kind of like an obsession with death. Like it was very interesting.
Yeah. Well, we're just trying to understand it, trying to put the pieces together in some new way for ourselves.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's kind of like, this big important piece of ourselves died as well, like it's not like just the baby, but like the baby was a huge part of us. And it's just like, I am not who I was before him. Like even now, I'm like, I have changed. I am so changed. And especially because that was my mom experience. That was my mothering. That was when I became a mom, and so many people would say like, you're going to be a great mom one day. And I'm like, no, I'm a mom.
Mm-hmm.
I am a mom. I feel very much like a mother, just a mother whose baby has died. Like, and that's what I am, and it's very interesting to have it be our first pregnancy and our first child, because now it's like, now that we have this baby, people are like, oh, well, now that you're parents. I'm like, no, we've been parents. It's our second baby. Like I make sure that anytime I talk about him, like he's here, he's our second child. He is a little brother.
Little brother.
Yes. Like he, and I call Adam like the littlest big brother because he was so small. Like but like I will never not say that he existed, because he did make me a mom, and he made me who I am today, which is like a way better person and way more compassionate and understanding person than I ever was before. And I can appreciate that a lot. I can really appreciate the person that I've become through this experience.
And then what about holding on to Adam and the grief and the love you have for him, and then having another pregnancy and now another baby? How has that process been for you?
So I think that it was really interesting because having Adam made us more certain than ever, like we wanted to have another baby. And I think a lot of people who go through pregnancy loss want another baby. Like I think a lot of people either are like, nope, like I don't want it, or they're like fixated almost on trying to conceive again. And I definitely became fixated on trying to conceive again. I was a mom. I wanted to have a living child. Like there was just, my arms were empty and I needed them to be filled. I needed a baby here. And so after a few cycles of trying, like we were very lucky again that on the 5th cycle, we were able to get pregnant. And it was such a different pregnancy in the sense that I did not tell anyone. I never announced it. I wanted to keep it from our families. It wasn't even once we got to our safe point, which to us was after the anatomy ultrasound, like I still didn't want to tell anybody because I could not believe that there was not going to be anything wrong. Like something was going to happen. He was not going to be safe in my head. Like I am not going to get my hopes up until he is in my arms. Like there's just, he was not going to be safe. He was not going to be safe until he was here. And so the whole pregnancy, I took pictures every single week because I wish I had taken more pictures of myself pregnant with Adam. Like I did not take any. I didn't need to because I was going to have a baby here, but this pregnancy, I was like, the baby's definitely not going to get here. So I'm going to take as many pictures and just, show that he was here in some sort of way, in some sort of picture form, or like the dog's laying on me or whatever, like this, I will do this every week because I really regret not having pictures and documentation like that with Adam. And so I'm really grateful that I did do that. But the moment that he was born, and like the second he gets put on your chest, it is just like the relief is like overwhelming. I mean, I'm tearing up now just talking about it, because I feel like I have waited for this moment of just hearing him cry, seeing his face. Like that to me was just like the best thing ever. And then like, I think like, is this what Adam would have looked like? Would they have looked very similar? Like would they have the same cheeks or the same eyes, or, you know, what would he have looked like? And I can be grateful for my experience with Adam and the fact that he didn't make it here, and also be mad as hell about it, because I do have Aiden, which Aiden would not have existed without Adam. Like they're so hand in hand together. And to me, I can appreciate that. And I think that Adam definitely sent us Aiden. Like there's just no doubt in my mind that he knew what like we needed to heal. And it is incredibly healing to have Aiden here. It just is amazing and such a gift. And I think I appreciate it so much more than I would have ever been able to appreciate if none of this had happened with Adam and he had just come into the world. I would have never been able to feel this much gratitude for being able to carry a baby and to have a baby here. It just, I hate that like I learned this lesson, but like it's amazing how much gratitude I feel just to like the universe that this is my life, that I'm able to have him healthy.
Yeah, and your love for him continues, and the way that you're grieving him continues. How do you see yourself continuing to grieve?
I think that like grief is forever, right? So I'm going to be grieving my son forever, because I will always wish that he was here.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's just important to incorporate him in my life, to remember his existence, and to make sure that Aiden knows about his brother. And I took a lot of baths when I was pregnant with Aiden and with Adam. And during those baths, I played like Adam's playlist. And so there's just like these songs that I would play all the time, and Aiden heard them all the time. And it's funny because now those are the songs that calm him when he gets fussy or whiny. Like I play Adam's playlist and he immediately just kind of calms down. And to me, it's really neat because I feel like he's connecting with his brother in that way, just like I'm connecting with my son, and my son, you know, I get to connect with both of them through this song and through a lot of things. And right now, my grieving is more like celebrating them getting to know each other. You know, Aiden learning about Adam, and Adam coming to us, you know, like peeking through the nursery window and lighting a little bit of sliver of sun onto us as we're in the chair. And just little moments like that where I see them together.
Mm-hmm.
And just, it makes my mama heart very happy.
Yeah, I like that your grief is also sweet.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all of it. And right now you're in a season of celebrating. I like that you use that word.
Yeah. Yeah. I will never be happy about what happened, but I think that I can appreciate what happened and come to terms with this is my life now, and accept how my life is. and where my life is going because of that happening. And I can appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah. And congratulations.
Thank you. It's
So
a gift.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead. A gift?
It's such a gift. He's such a gift.
If there's something that you would say to somebody going through a termination for medical reasons, or maybe it's very recent, what would you say to them?
Find support. Find other women who've gone through it. Reach out. Look at Instagram hashtags. There's a lot of women who are willing to talk about it and share and help you through this. Like, I think that has helped. That's how I healed, was trying to help other people who've gone through it as well, and offering that support. And through Instagram, a lot of people have found me through Instagram because I have hashtagged, terminating for medical reasons or whatever. And that helps me heal. And I think what has helped me heal also was finding a group of women who have been through something, the same thing, kind of, a little bit different, but essentially the same thing, having to make that choice to terminate a pregnancy. And it does get lighter. It gets, your load gets lighter. It gets easier to carry, and it's so fresh in the beginning, and it's so hard in the beginning, but I'm just a year and a few months out, and it does get lighter. And I think it's also important to find somebody who specializes. If you're going to seek therapy, find somebody who specializes in pregnancy loss, because there's a lot of terms that people will use that are not helpful, and things people will say that are not helpful, but people who have experience in pregnancy loss know not to use those things.
Yeah, those are all really important points. So I hope that can help people when it's fresh, because it's really hard.
Yes.
Is there anything else you'd like to share?
I don't think so. Thank you for doing this. I think this is going to be really, really helpful. And I hope that anybody who watches this, who's going through this new, or trying to make up the decision of what to do, no matter what decision you make, it's the right decision, because you're making it out of love and because you love your baby. No matter if you choose to continue the pregnancy or not, you're the best mom to your little baby.
Oh, well, thank you, Allie. Thank you for coming on, telling your story.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll put that in the description box for people.
Sounds good.
Thank you again, Allie, for sharing your story with us. And I would also love to hear from you. Would you like to share your story of termination for medical reasons on our TFMR stories? If you would like to, I will put my contact information here in the description box below. And if you would rather process your loss in a more private way, I also have some free journaling prompts that you can pick up, and that will be in the description box as well. Today's episode has been sponsored by my new one-on-one service, a Bereavement Care Package. And you can find out more about those services, pregnancy loss doula support for you as a bereaved parent, also in the description box below. I release these stories weekly. Make sure to subscribe so that you can see each new one, and I'll see you again soon.